a parrot sits quietly on a perch. No job, no degree, no side hustle, no investment portfolio, no budgeting aplicativo, no finance podcast. And yet, this parrot understands one of the most important principles of wealth better than millions of adults. That sounds ridiculous. After all, humans built banks, humans created stock markets, humans invented retirement accounts, mutual funds, index funds, and financial planning. A parrot doesn't need to know any of those things, but it is the uncomfortable truth. Knowing about money and being good with money are not the same thing. In fact, some of the smartest people in society consistently make terrible financial decisions. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, executives, people with advanced degrees, people owning six figures, people who can solve complex problems at work every day. Yet many of them are financially stressed. Men live paycheck till paycheck, men carry debt, men worry about money constantly. Meanwhile, our parrot avoids a mistake that traps millions of people for decades. And that's what makes the story so fascinating, because the lesson isn't really about a bird. It is about human behavior. It is about why owning more money doesn't automatically make people wealthy. And it is about a simple principle that separates people who build financial freedom from people who spend their entire lives chasing it. But first, let me tell you about Michael. Michael owns $180 per year. Ten years ago, he owned less than half that amount. Back then, he dreamed about reaching six figures. He imagined financial freedom. No stress, no worries, no money problems. Then it happened. His income increased. His career took off. His salary grew. Today, on paper, Michael looks successful. He owns a beautiful home. He drives a luxury SUV. His family takes expensive vacations. His children attend excellent schools. From the outside, everything appears perfect. But there is a problem. If Michael lost his income tomorrow, he would be in trouble almost immediately. The mortgage would still arrive. The car payments would still arrive. The subscriptions, the insurance, the school expenses, the vacations already booked. The lifestyle he built requires every dollar he owns. In that is when you realize something important. Michael isn't wealthy. Michael is expensive. There is a difference, a massive difference. And millions of people spend their entire lives confusing the two. According to multiple financial surveys conducted in recent years, a surprisingly large percentage of high-income owners report living paycheck till paycheck, not because they don't own enough, because they spend enough. That is a completely different problem. Most people believe financial struggles are caused by insufficient income, and sometimes that is true. But after a certain point, something strange happens. Income stops being the primary obstacle. Behavior becomes the obstacle. That is where the parrot enters our story. Imagine placing a pile of seeds in front of a parrot every day. Not all at once. Every single day. A predictable amount. Now imagine the parrot develops a habit. Before eating any seeds, he hides a portion of them. Every day. Without exception. Rain or shine. Good mood or bad mood. He stores some away before consuming the rest. The habit is automatic. The habit is consistent. The habit requires no motivation, and over time, the stored pile grows. Humans know exactly how this works. We call it saving. We call it investing. We call it paying yourself first. Yet millions of people never actually do it. Instead, they reverse the process. They spend first, then save whatever remains. Usually nothing remains. This single difference explains more financial outcomes than almost any investment strategy ever created, because wealth is not built primarily by owning, it is built by keeping. The parrot understands that instinctively. Humans often forget it completely. ADS is something fascinating. Researchers who study wealthy individuals have discovered a pattern that appears over and over again. Most self-made millionaires are not extreme spenders. In fact, many of them are surprisingly ordinary. They drive reasonable vehicles. They live below their means. They avoid unnecessary status purchases. They save consistently. And perhaps most importantly, they don't allow their lifestyle to grow as fast as their income. That last point is where most people fail. Each happens so gradually that they rarely notice. Let's say someone receives a raise. Nothing dramatic happens at first. Maybe they upgrade their phone. Maybe they start eating out more often. Maybe they move into a slightly nicer apartment. Every individual decision feels harmless, reasonable, even. After all, they can afford it. That is the phrase people use. I can afford it. But affordability is one of the most dangerous concepts in personal finance, because almost everything can be affordable in isolation. The problem appears when dozens of affordable decisions accumulate. One subscription becomes 5. One luxury becomes a habit. One upgrade becomes a lifestyle. And suddenly, income that once felt enormous starts feeling insufficient. The person didn't become poor. They became heavier, financially heavier. Their obligations increased. Their flexibility disappeared. Their margin vanished. The parrot never makes this mistake. Give the parrot more seeds and he doesn't suddenly require a larger television, a luxury vehicle, a premium membership, or a second vacation home. His needs remain largely unchanged. Humans are different. Humans adapt remarkably fast. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the tendency to become accustomed to improvements so quickly that they stop feeling special. The new car becomes normal. The bigger house becomes normal. The expensive vacation becomes normal. The upgraded lifestyle becomes normal. Then the brain starts searching for the next upgrade. And the cycle continues. This is one of the most powerful forces working against wealth accumulation, not because people are irresponsible, because people are human. The problem is that wealth requires resisting certain instincts, and most instincts push in the opposite direction. Humans naturally seek comfort, convenience. Pleasure, status, recognition, immediate rewards. Unfortunately, those same desires often compete directly with long-term financial success. That is why intelligence alone doesn't solve money problems. A brilliant surgeon can understand complex medical procedures and still overspend. A successful lawyer can win difficult cases and still accumulate debt. A talented engineer can design advanced systems and still save almost nothing. Knowledge isn't the issue. Behavior is. The parrot doesn't have this conflict. The parrot doesn't care what other parrots think. Humans care deeply what other humans think, and that changes everything. Think about the last major purchase you made. How much of that purchase was truly for utility, and how much was influenced by perception? That is not criticism. It is simply reality. Humans are social creatures. Status matters. Belonging matters. Comparison matters. Even when we pretend it doesn't. This creates a hidden financial pressure that rarely gets discussed openly. People don't just buy products, they buy signals. Signals of success, signals of achievement, signals of identity. The challenge is that those signals can become incredibly expensive, and they often provide only temporary satisfaction. Meanwhile, the money used to purchase them loses the opportunity to compound. A compounding is where wealth is truly created. The difference between spending and investing doesn't look dramatic today. It looks dramatic 20 years from now. That's the part people struggle to visualize. Because humans are naturally wired to prioritize the present. The future feels distant, abstract, uncertain. The present feels real. The present contains temptation. The present contains emotion. The present contains Amazon checkout buttons and one-click purchases. The parrot has an advantage. The parrot isn't trying to impress anyone. Which means he accidentally avoids one of the most expensive traps in modern society. In the next part, we're going to explore the trap in detail, because the biggest reason most people struggle financially isn't low income, it isn't inflation, it isn't bad luck. It is a psychological force so powerful that it convinces people to spend money they don't even want to spend. A force that silently shapes nearly every financial decision they make. And once you see it, you ideally start noticing it everywhere. The average person believes financial success is primarily about income, own money, stressless, simple. At least that's what most people think. But if income alone created wealth, every highly paid professional would be rich, every doctor would be financially free, every lawyer would hit early, every executive would have millions invested. Yet reality tells a different story. Something else is happening, something far more powerful than income. Our parrot accidentally avoids it. Let's call it the comparison trap. The comparison trap starts innocently. You see someone driving a nicer car. You don't feel jealous. Not exactly. You simply start wondering if maybe it is time for an upgrade. Then a friend buys a larger house. Another friend posts vacation photos from Italy. Someone else gets a luxury watch. A co-worker joins an exclusive club. None of these events seem important individually, but together they create pressure. Not direct pressure, invisible pressure, pressure to keep up, pressure to belong, pressure to maintain appearances, pressure to prove that you are successful too. The parrot doesn't experience any of this. He doesn't wake up wondering if the bird on the next perch has a better nest. He doesn't compare seed collections. He doesn't care about status. And because he doesn't care, he keeps more of what he owns. Humans do the opposite. The strange thing about comparison is that it never ends. No matter how much money you make, no matter how successful you become, there is always someone above you, someone richer, someone younger, someone with a bigger house, a better vacation, a newer car, a larger investment account. The finish line keeps moving. People spend their entire lives chasing a target that continuously relocates. Researchers have observed this pattern for decades. As income rises, expectations rise too. What once felt luxurious becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes expected. The dream becomes the baseline. Then a new dream appears. The cycle repeats. Imagine earning $40 a year. You might dream about making $80. You imagine all your problems disappearing. Then you reach $80. At first it feels incredible. but eventually that becomes normal. Now you start looking at people making $150, then $250, then $500. The brain constantly recalibrates. The goalpost moves. The parrot never moves the goalpost. That's one reason the parrot wins. Humans often doubt it. It's where things become expensive. Most lifestyle upgrades don't happen because people consciously choose them. They happen automatically. A raise arrives. Spending expands. Not dramatically. Gradually. That's what makes it dangerous. Nobody wakes up and decides to double their expenses overnight. Instead, it happens one decision at a time. An so apartment, a better neighborhood, a more expensive gym, premium subscriptions. More restaurant meals, business class flights, luxury hotels, convenience purchases, delivery aplicativos. Everything feels reasonable. Everything feels deserved. And technically, everything is affordable. Until suddenly it isn't. This phenomenon has a name: lifestyle inflation. It may be the single greatest enemy of wealth creation, because lifestyle inflation grows silently. Most people never notice it happening. The human brain adapts incredibly quickly. The first time you fly business class, it feels amazing. The 10th time, it feels normal. The first time you drive a luxury vehicle, it feels exciting. A year later, it's just transportation. The first expensive house feels extraordinary. Eventually it becomes ordinary. Humans adapt. That's what humans do. The problem is that adaptation destroys appreciation while preserving costs. The excitement disappears. The payment remains. The thrill disappears. The obligation remains. The novelty disappears. The expense remains. The parrot avoids this completely. Give him extra seeds. He stores more seeds. Simple. No lifestyle inflation. No status inflation. No expectation inflation. Just accumulation. The accumulation creates options. That's what wealth really is. Most people think wealth means luxury. It isn't. Luxury is consumption. Wealth is options. The ability to choose. The ability to walk away. The ability to say no. The ability to survive unexpected events. The ability to sleep peacefully. That's wealth. And the path to wealth looks surprisingly boring, which is exactly why most people ignore it. People love dramatic stories. They love lottery winners, crypto millionaires, business empires, massive stock gains. What they don't love is consistency, but consistency builds more wealth than excitement ever will. Consider two individuals. The first owns $75 annually. Every month, without exception, they invest part of their income. Year after year, decade after decade, nothing spectacular happens. No viral success, no financial miracle, just discipline. The second owns $250 annually. They spend nearly everything they own. The house gets bigger. The cars get nicer. The vacations become more expensive. 20 years later, who is wealthier? Many people instinctively choose the higher owner, but often they hear wrong. Because wealth is less about owning and more about converting income into assets. Income is temporary. Assets are permanent. Income stops when you stop working. Assets continue working. The parrot understands this intuitively. Store seeds today, eat tomorrow. Humans understand it intellectually, but often ignore it behaviorally. That's a critical difference. It's another lesson from our feathered financial advisor. The parrot understands delayed gratification. Humans struggle with it. Imagine placing two bowls of seeds in front of a parrot. One bowl contains 10 seeds now. The other contains 20 seeds tomorrow. If survival isn't immediately threatened, waiting can be the smarter choice. Humans know this, yet humans repeatedly sacrifice tomorrow for today. Credit cards make this easy. Buy now, pay later, enjoy immediately, worry eventually. This mindset appears harmless in small amounts, but over time it becomes devastating, because debt reverses the power of compounding. Instead of money working for you, you're working for money. Every dollar spent on interest is a dollar that never gets invested. Every month spent carrying debt delays wealth creation. The math becomes brutal over decades. A small decision repeated thousands of times eventually becomes a massive outcome. That's the secret most people miss. Financial success is rarely determined by giant decisions. It is determined by tiny decisions repeated consistently. The daily coffee isn't the problem. The vacation isn't the problem. The occasional luxury purchase isn't the problem. The problem is unconscious repetition, spending without intention, buying without evaluation, consuming without awareness. The parrot is intentional by default. Humans must learn intentionality. That's harder than it sounds, because modern society is designed to encourage consumption. Every aplicativo, every advertisement, every algorithm, every notification. Someone is constantly trying to convince you to spend more, upgrade sooner. Buy now, treat yourself, reward yourself. You deserve it. The message never stops. And over time it becomes difficult to distinguish one's phone needs. That's why many high owners still feel trapped. Their income increased, but so did everything else. Their expenses, their obligations, their expectations, their lifestyle, their financial freedom never actually arrived. They climbed the income ladder, but they brought their spending habits with them. That's the mistake the parrot never makes. The parrot doesn't care how many seeds arrive. He focuses on how many seeds remain. That seagull shifting perspective changes everything, because people often optimize for income when they should be optimizing for retention. Not how much comes in, how much stays, not how much you earn, how much you keep, not your salary, your savings rate. The difference sounds small, but it changes the entire game. In the next section, we're going to explore perhaps the most powerful lesson of all, the lesson that separates people who eventually become financially free from people who spend their entire lives running faster without ever getting ahead. Because our parrot understands something about money that most humans don't discover until it is far too late. Most people spend their lives trying to make more money. The parrot would ask a different question. What happens till the money after you get it? That's the question that matters. Because owning money and keeping money are two completely different skills. Confusing one for the other has created more financial stress than almost any economic problem in modern history. Think about it. Two people can own exactly the same income, same city, same age, same profession, same opportunities. Yet 20 years later, one has accumulated millions in assets while the other remains trapped in a cycle of financial anxiety. How does that happen? It isn't luck. It isn't intelligence. It usually isn't income. It is behavior, repeated behavior. The small decisions nobody notices, the purchases nobody remembers, the habits nobody tracks, the choices that seem insignificant in the moment but become life-changing over decades. That's what our parrot understands. And that's what most people overlook. Let us imagine two versions of the same person. Version 1 receives every raise and immediately upgrades their lifestyle. The apartment becomes a house. The house becomes a larger house. The car becomes a luxury car. The vacations become more extravagant. The spending expands to match the income. Every increase in earnings creates a matching increase in expenses. On paper, this person looks successful. Friends admire them. Family members are impressed. Social media rewards them. Everything appears to be working, until something unexpected happens. A recession, a layoff, a health issue, a business slowdown, a financial emergency. Suddenly they realize something terrifying. Their entire lifestyle depends on a continuous flow of income. The machine must keep running. The pressure never disappears. The bigger the lifestyle becomes, the greater the pressure becomes. Now let us look at version 2. Version 2 receives the same raises. The same opportunities, the same promotions, but instead of upgrading everything, they follow what we at EL call the parrot principle. Every time income increases, a portion of the increase is captured, saved, invested, protected, not because they hate cheap, not because they hate spending, because they value freedom more than appearances. Their lifestyle improves, but not as fast as their income. The gap between earnings and spending grows wider every year. At first, nobody notices. Their friends don't see anything impressive. They're no flashy transformation, no dramatic display of success, no luxury symbols, no viral social media moments, but something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Assets are growing, investments are compounding, options are expanding, stress is decreasing, freedom is increasing, and eventually, a fascinating thing happens. The person who looked less wealthy becomes the person who actually is wealthy. That's one of the greatest paradoxes in personal finance. The people who look rich are often not the richest, and the people building the most wealth often don't look wealthy at all, because wealth is invisible. A luxury car is visible. A $1 million investment account is not. A designer watch is visible. Financial independence is not. A giant house is visible. A massive portfolio is not. Humans naturally notice visible things. Which is why so many people optimize for appearances instead of outcomes. The parrot doesn't care about appearances. The parrot cares about survival, storage, future security. And ironically, those instincts often produce better financial outcomes than the strategies many humans follow. Now let us talk about the most powerful force in wealth creation: compounding. Albert Einstein allegedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he actually said it or not isn't important. The idea is, because compounding changes everything. Imagine investing $500 every month. Nothing exciting, nothing dramatic, no lottery ticket, no crypto moonshot, just consistency, month after month, year after year. At first, the results feel disappointing. The account grows slowly, painfully slowly. Many people quit during this phase, because humans love immediate rewards. The problem is that compounding rewards patience, not excitement. not urgency, not impulse. Patience. Impatience feels boring, until one day it does not, because eventually growth starts generating more growth. Then growth accelerates. Then acceleration accelerates. Then the curve begins bending upward. That's when people suddenly say things like, you he lucky, you he fortunate, you must have gotten early. No, you were simply consistent longer. The parrot understands consistency. Humans worship intensity. That's why so many people fail. They try to change everything at once. Extreme budgets, extreme goals, extreme motivation, extreme discipline. Then reality arrives. Motivation fades. Life gets busy. The system collapses. The parrot does not rely on motivation. The parrot relies on habits. Habits are infinitely more powerful, because habits operate when emotions disappear. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't negotiate every night. You don't debate whether it is worth doing. You just do it. The action became automatic. Financial success works the same way. The people who build wealth consistently automate good decisions. They remove emotion. They remove friction. They remove excuses. Money gets invested automatically. Savings happen automatically. Good behavior becomes the default behavior. That's the real secret. Not intelligence, not talent, not perfect timing. Systems. The right systems repeated for long enough. It is another lesson from our feathered financial expert. The parrot never confuses consumption with progress. Humans do it constantly. Buying something feels productive. It feels rewarding. It feels like advancement. But consumption and progress aren't the same thing. A new phone isn't progress. A larger television isn't progress. A more expensive car isn't necessarily progress. Sometimes progress is invisible. An emergency fund, a retirement account, an investment portfolio, a paid-off debt balance. Nobody sees those things. Which is exactly why they are so powerful. They don't exist to impress other people. They exist to protect your future. The older you get, the more important this distinction becomes. Because eventually life presents challenges. Every person experiences setbacks, unexpected expenses, economic downturns, medical costs, career changes, family emergencies. The question isn't whether challenges arrive. They will. The question is whether you are prepared when they do. That's what wealth ultimately provides. Resilience, not perfection. Resilience, the ability to absorb shocks without financial collapse. The ability to handle uncertainty without panic. The ability to make decisions from strength instead of desperation. And that brings us back to the parrot. The reason this parrot understands money better than most people has nothing to do with finance, nothing to do with economics, nothing to do with investing. The parrot understands something deeper. The parrot understands enough. Humans often don't. Enough is one of the hardest concepts in modern life. How much money is enough? How much house is enough? How much status is enough? How much success is enough? Many people spend their entire lives chasing answers they never define. The finish line remains blurry. The target keeps moving. The pursuit never ends. The parrot isn't trapped by that. The parrot doesn't need endless upgrades. The parrot doesn't need constant validation. The parrot doesn't need bigger and bigger symbols of success. He simply protects what matters, stores resources, plans for the future. He avoids unnecessary risk. Simple, not easy, but simple, which leads us to the final lesson. Financial freedom isn't created by one giant decision. Each is created by thousands of tiny decisions, repeated consistently, day after day, month after month, year after year. Most people search for financial breakthroughs. The parrot would search for financial habits. Because breakthroughs are the unpredictable, habits are the controllable. Breakthroughs might happen, habits definitely happen. Over long periods of time, habits usually win. The person investing modest amounts consistently often beats the person waiting for the perfect opportunity. The person avoiding unnecessary debt often beats the person chasing status. The person living slightly below their means often beats the person constantly stretching beyond them, not because they are smarter. Because they are more consistent. Inconsistency compounds. That's the entire game. So the next time you see a parrot sitting quietly on a perch, remember this. That bird doesn't need to know anything about the stock markets. He doesn't need to know anything about retirement accounts. He doesn't need to know anything about economic forecasts. Yet he understands a principle that changes lives. Protect part of what you receive. Think about tomorrow. Avoid unnecessary consumption. Ignore the comparisons. You repeat the process long enough. That's it. That's the lesson. That's the secret. Ironically, each is so simple that most people spend years overlooking it. The truth is that money has never been primarily about mathematics. Each is about behavior. Each is about habits. Each is about choices. If a parrot can understand that, so can you. Because wealth isn't built by owning more. Each is built by keeping more. That is something this parrot understood all along.